Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we figure out how to build and run a SaaS. I'm Brian.
And I'm Benedict. Each week, we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we work on our projects and keep the lights on with consulting. Today is December 17th, and I'm on my third back-to-back call today.
This is episode number 22, and I am feeling frazzled. Because I asked if we could record this a day early. You said yes, and then I completely didn't update my calendar, and I'm 20 minutes late to our call. So I am really sorry.
Yeah, so I'm not complaining. As I said, it's my third back-to-back call, so I didn't mind the break.
Yeah, get a little 20-minute break in there. Yeah, no, I'm so sorry, man. So on Wednesday, the reason I asked if we could reschedule it we normally record this Wednesday morning U.S., Wednesday at the end of the day for you in Germany. And my daughter has late start on Wednesdays, and so every other week I try to take off the morning and we go to a coffee shop or play a board game or something like that. And it just I just completely slipped my mind this morning. So sorry. I was frazzled to get myself to the office and get set up.
No problem at all.
What are your calls about? 3 back-to-back calls.
We just right before this, we had our weekly co-founder call just to catch up on things, and we actually skipped the last 2 or so. So it has been a while since we all 3 got together and just talked. So that was before that, and the one before that was a mastermind group call, and the one before that, there was a longer break before that, and we did a product call, Jane and I, to talk about in-app messaging and made some style changes and stuff like that. So
cool. Lots
of calls today. I don't get a lot of other stuff done. Just talking to people and now recording podcast episodes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this will be our last one for the year. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Last one for the decade. Last one for the entire decade.
That sounds big and important.
Right. Well, what's been going on for you in the past week?
Yeah. So I updated my website yesterday, basically removing my services page and all references
you announce
to it.
That. Congratulations. You're getting some high fives there.
Yeah, I didn't expect that much feedback, to be honest. It just figured, hey, it's probably a good idea to just remove the page just so I don't confuse people with availability that isn't actually availability.
Yes.
So I deleted all the pages, removed all references to it, and just pushed it. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's tweet about it. And suddenly I get I don't know how many replies, 80 likes or so. I know. It didn't do anything. I just removed the page.
People are rooting for you, man. People are cheering for you.
So yeah, certainly nice.
Yes.
But I didn't expect that amount of positive feedback. So, but, yeah. I take it. Other than that, last week I was super stoked about the new Sepultura thing. Turns out 2 days later they were like, yeah, maybe it's a bit rushed. Let's not do this right before Christmas. So it's still supposed to happen next year, but at least it's not as rushed. And I think overall I'm happy about it because getting it done this week would have been tough, and this way I can basically do it on the side, no problem at all.
Cool.
Just an hour here, an hour there. And then what else happened? Yeah, last week, I think it was the day after we recorded the episode, Thursday, I had a really, really, really bad day. Kind of a small meltdown in terms of it was I'm still not sleeping very well. Still wake up a couple times every night. I was super tired, and we had for the whole last week we had 2 customers really, really struggling with their onboarding. sending very long emails with lots of questions
Mm-hmm.
during my night. So every morning I'd wake up to like a handful of support requests with tough questions in there. It usually took like 30 minutes or more to just figure out, like just read them, understand them, double checking what's happening in their account. Did they set up things correctly? Maybe even checking stuff in our database. So it was really taxing, and
Yeah.
I got super cranky. Just like the lack of sleep and the amount of stress was just getting too much. And yeah, at some point I just wrote a lengthy message to my co-founders stating the situation, and after that, talking to a couple of friends about it, I realized that basically since we launched, I've been kind of anxious, and just like having a product out there and
Yeah.
being the only one able to fix stuff, to analyze stuff, to like do anything technical on it was stressing me out a bit. And the lack of sleep just amplified that by,
Compounds it. Yeah.
I don't know, a lot. And
Yeah.
yeah, so trying to figure out like how to deal with all of this now. Definitely trying to, like, in the last couple of weeks, like, unplugging is super hard. Like with the constant support requests coming in, there was basically always something to think about. And now I'm trying to, like, at least in the evenings, not check emails, not answer support requests, or even check if there are support requests, and just try to take it a bit slower
Mm-hmm.
and not feel so, I don't know, yeah, anxious about, like, is there something wrong with the system? Is it going to break overnight and stuff like that?
Yeah. Is that and that's those sorts of things, um, talking that over with your co-founders? Like, are we okay with there may be some support requests that go some number of hours without being responded to? Is that sort of just setting expectations across everybody? What's that?
Yeah, yeah, basically just mentioning it and mentioning the situation was already helpful, because of
Mhm.
course, like, during the day, being super tired, I, like, my productivity wasn't great as well. So yeah, you can probably imagine, try to program something and work on a complex system without being fully awake is
Right. And
kind of
being
a useless exercise.
yeah,
So
especially when you're tired and with a low burn of anxiety underneath all of it,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
just not gonna
So
do very
getting it
much.
out there and just talking about it helped a lot. And both my co-founders were very, like, okay with that and accepting. And
Mhm.
so now I don't, at least, like, the level of, like, the stress induced by, hey, I'm not delivering enough and I feel bad about it, that part is a little bit relieved now. And I just try to, yeah, figure out how to get more sleep and be more productive.
Mhm.
And it's already improving. So
Yeah. And are you pretty optimistic that well, like how much do you think that will change in the new year when you completely free your mind and your calendar from consulting projects? Do you think that that will be helpful, or do you think, well, now I'm just going to be focused full time on this new thing that's causing me a lot of stress? How are you thinking through that?
that's a good question. And I don't really know the answer. Like, yes, for one thing, it's probably nice to be able to just focus on one thing.
Mhm.
But then again, it's the only thing that
Yeah.
I'm doing, and it kind of has to work out. Otherwise, the time is wasted, more or less.
Yeah.
And maybe it just adds more pressure on top of it. But
Yeah.
I will. We see, I guess.
Yeah. Is everybody's mind state or mindset or state of mind, is that something that comes up in your weekly founder calls as an agenda point, as an agenda item? Hey, let's be sure to talk about this. Or has it only come up when it's presented itself as a problem?
We used to do this in the very beginning a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
then we stopped talking about it. And maybe it's a good idea to do it more. But then again, I mean, if it doesn't really change from week to week, it's kind of useless. And maybe it's just a good idea to bring it up when it's important or something changes or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I need to. I won't waste time finding it right now, but I'll find the blog post and put it in the show notes. Um, there's a guy he's actually here in Boulder. I've never met him personally, but hear his name mentioned all the time. And Alex Bloomberg of Gimlet on his podcast Without Fail interviewed him. His name's it's Jerry Colonna, and I think his thing is called Reboot. Um, Reboot leadership in the art of growing up or something like that. Anyway, he's got this interesting blog post about how founding teams should start pretty much every meeting with how are you feeling, red, yellow, or green? And just like no need to go into the details at that, like just start there, and that is how the meetings begin. And it seems like, I don't know, I'll find the post and share it with you. I think that there could be something in there that might feel simple to do, extremely practical. And it's kind of what we do at the beginning of this show, like, how are you
In a
feeling?
way, yeah.
And because it just sort of gives you a place to start with. Well, okay, yeah, why are you feeling that way? What's
Yeah.
going on? Is there anything we can do about that?
Yeah.
So the podcast, the interview with Alex Bloomberg is, it's obviously great because Bloomberg is just a master. But the post feels extremely practical. And how do you get something kind of touchy-feely and foo-foo feelings into something functional and practical, business people
Yeah.
working together trying to build a thing?
Yeah, I think that sounds like something I should check out. Also, I have a copy of Sherry Walling's book laying around. I should
Well,
probably
yeah.
pick that one up as
Yeah.
well. I started reading it at this point, it's probably years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like back then it was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel I need it, but right now I feel like, yeah, it's probably a good thing to start thinking about this a bit more and be more proactive about managing my mental health, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a topic I like talking about feelings. I've never been accused by my friends of being hard to get to know on the feeling side of things. It's one of my favorite topics. So anytime you need to start off or dominate the entire episode here and talk to me about how you're feeling, yeah, I will always be game for it. I can pretty much promise you.
Okay, I keep that in mind.
What else, man? What else is going on with user list?
During while answering one of those longish support requests, basically reviewing one of our new customers' accounts and their setup, I noticed a ambiguity in our copy, like for campaign triggers, like the thing that starts, like the conditions that need to happen and apply in order to start a campaign. We were using past tense, so like stuff like user joined a segment. And in the last couple of days and during the review, it occurred to me that past tense is actually confusing because it can either be like stuff that's happening right now, like the user joins a segment right now or joined it a millisecond ago and then the campaign starts, or you can read it as in the entire lifetime of the account, a user joined a segment and is still part of that. It's hard
Got
to
it. So,
explain.
meaning as the user, as I'm setting that up, I might be confused because I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to
When
create this trigger and it's going to apply to anybody ever. And
yeah.
that is not what it does. It is going
Yeah.
to apply to users in the
Yeah.
future from this point forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that part is
copy is hard.
yeah. And this was exactly one thing that kept confusing people. Like they send emails like, why isn't this user getting this campaign? Because when I read the condition, it sounds like it should match, but it didn't,
No.
because they already were part of that segment before
Yeah.
the campaign was ever created.
Yeah.
And so we changed that, and now it's present tense. User
Mhm.
joins a segment and stuff like that. And Jane's opinion is that I'm putting too much hope into this little change, but I feel super good about it because it feels like now the ambiguity is gone, and now there's only one way to interpret it, at
Yeah.
least. Well, we'll see. Maybe
We'll
we get
see.
another support request and discover a third way to interpret it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah. When
Looking
you
forward.
come across those things, when you and Jay come across those things, are you adding them to, like, the answers, I mean, when you respond to those requests, are you adding them to a knowledge base online or your help documentation?
Sometimes at this point, I feel like we have most of the stuff covered.
Yeah.
Like we have a lengthy knowledge base document about how the
Okay.
campaigns work and how the
Yep.
triggers work. Um, but yeah, I'm mostly explaining myself over and over again
Uh-huh.
with concrete examples.
Uh-huh.
Just, yeah, I don't know. At some point, we could probably just link to the stuff, but it feels nicer for the customer to just get things complained in their context. So that's what we do right now.
Yeah. That that also makes some sense. I feel like Justin Jackson at with Transistor does a really good job of, like, creating and sharing videos, like, just with Loom. Like, hey, here's how you do this thing. Da da da. Da. Shares it out, kind of repurposes it as marketing
Mm-hmm.
because, hey, you're dealing with this problem. Here's how to do it, and it's help documentation. Current customer, you're asking about this thing. Yeah, we totally do it, and here's how. And video is so high fidelity
Yeah.
compared to writing. I mean, writing's good too, sure, but a video explanation that is then documented in a place, added to help documentation that you already have, potentially, just something to
Yeah, that might be a good
think
idea
about,
to
just
think
to add to
about.
your add to your response workflow.
Yeah, I think the problem there is
Yeah, where's the
I
breakdown?
I don't think I wanna record videos, or for the customer it would be nice to record them within their account, like with their concrete example, but I
Yep.
can't share those. Like
Right. Okay.
that's sensitive information. If it displays like customer data, then even more so. Um, but I mean, think it's still a good way uh, to think about it, just like trying to repurpose some of that stuff, and
Mhm.
maybe there's a way to just like record it with dummy data or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the root of what I was asking about is because I heard you saying, I feel like I'm repeating myself. And so, and
Yeah,
I know that y'all have good help docs. They look beautiful. They are easy to navigate. So
yeah,
how is it that you're still repeating yourself, or how can you find ways to repeat yourself at least a little bit less?
yeah. I hope this change helps a little bit. We also
Uh-huh.
identified a new feature that we should probably add soonish, and then
What's
yeah,
that?
we see. Basically, like right now, all our triggers are event based. Like something happens, the user joins a segment, or
Yes.
they fire a new event, or they just sign up. And I think we'll need a new trigger type that matches whenever they match certain conditions, like a value gets set to true, or they reach a certain count of activity
Mm-hmm.
in their stream, and then that campaign starts.
Yep.
And we don't have that right now. You can kind of fake it by setting up a segment for it, but it's not, well, it's too confusing, and it would be easier to just like define the conditions on that trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's now a thing on our roadmap. let's see when I get to it.
Yes. Yeah. Where do you stand on launching in-app messaging?
Um, no date set yet, but tomorrow we have got a call with a customer who's interested in the feature,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to show it to them and then talk about their use cases and get some feedback, and then continue working from there. I guess we should probably schedule a couple more. Like right now, we have just one scheduled, but there are more people interested in it, and I think we should gather some more feedback and
Yep.
then with that polish it and launch it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice, man.
What's new with you?
Um, let's see. So
Did you hear back from your proposals?
I did, and well, I heard back from one, and they said no thanks, not at this time. Don't think we're ready to commit to
Ah,
an annual. Don't think we're ready to commit to an annual plan yet. Um, and so which like I said last week, like consulting has definitely taught me do not live and die on small
yeah,
sample sizes, or every single proposal. Um, obviously would have preferred for it to be a yes, but it
sure.
was a no, and got some good feedback on it. That kind of boiled down to not completely sure that they are saying, like, not completely sure that it would be worth it at this point.
Hmm.
Don't know for sure what exactly Headlamp would be offering. Would be so what we would get out of it over the course of a year, which is good. Good feedback helps
Yeah,
me, understand. Okay, I need to zoom in a little bit more than on the benefits of what I'm building. And so, um, yeah, so that's where that is. Followed up with the second one, and they're like, oh yeah, not so sure. It's like end of the year right now. Maybe uh,
hmm,
you know, hit me back up at at the beginning of January.
yeah,
Um, at any rate, I need to be working to get more people into the top of that funnel as it is.
yeah,
Um, and so I'm just trying to figure out how to close out the year in a good way. About across all of my priorities, client work, my
hmm,
consulting, my consulting site, um, and uh, pitching and selling Headlamp. Um, and that's where I'm just like I just find myself being spread thin again. Um, and just struggling to make progress. There were days, yesterday in particular, just felt like a pretty crummy day where I just got to the end of it. I'd been doing things all day long and got to the end of the day feeling like, did I make any meaningful progress on anything, or did I
yeah.
just move everything in 1 inch? And if
Those
it,
days are the worst.
yeah, yeah, where you did stuff, like you did things that if you that would not have moved at all
Yeah,
if you hadn't done it. But it just felt like, I need to have more discipline in being able to say, I'm going to move one thing a foot today. And that means these other things are not going anywhere.
yeah,
And it just sometimes feels like I just don't have the luxury of being able to
mm,
do that. So, but because, like, when you're talking about client work, what does that mean? Well, I mean, you can you can only set so many boundaries and be unresponsive to clients to a degree before
yeah,
they say, hey, all good, man, we're not going to re-up next month.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like, that's a reality of services business. I know, like, people love to talk about boundaries, and
How
that's all
how res-
true, but
how responsive are you usually?
pretty darn responsive. Like
Like
within
within 5 minutes, or
like within an hour or two. I
okay,
mean, um so either with, I will you yes, it's done, like, totally hear you. Just pushed up that change, or
Mm-hmm.
yes, got it, sent that email, or yes, here are my thoughts on this. But trying to be super responsive. Over time, that has meant that I keep clients around for a while and get a lot of referrals. And
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, the trade off is that my personal projects always suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Do you have like do you have a contract, right? Or you send at least send proposals, if I remember correctly.
yeah, yes.
Do you set like expectations about that part? Like I reply to email within 24 hours or
Um,
something like that?
yeah, what does it say in there? I think I say 48 hours, where I mention it, but
Okay.
I
Yeah.
kind of
I
tend
mean,
to, I don't
if
know.
you start doing it within 1 hour, at some point they will just expect it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I mean, I
Do you take
I
do you accept
definitely,
phone calls?
for sure, one of my clients like texts me very regularly, and they are a good client. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, so I
This is something like
good.
I usually reply to emails pretty fast, but I almost have a rule to never pick up the phone when they call. Like, even if I
Mhm.
could pick it up, I just don't.
Mhm.
Because I feel like there's rarely a thing that's so important that they have to call me for it. Like, usually an email is fine. And I feel like, especially calls feel like super intrusive to me because, like, getting on a phone call is basically pulling me out of whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
Where with email, I'm at least it might be not be a good thing to regularly check my email, but at least it's a thing I do and not a thing they just push onto me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, just I can hear like through this conversation and winding down the year, starting up the new one, it'll be I can get I can get new projects off on a bit of a better footing, um, by setting some expectations and not breaking those expectations and training clients to expect me to respond to text messages, respond to emails,
Yeah.
as if I have my email up all day long and respond to things when they come in, which is what I do. And I know that that is not a good practice. I work way better when I don't act that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's easy to fall into that under the, you know, yeah, under, under, working from the position of, yeah, keep clients extremely happy and they will continue to come back and refer you to people.
Yeah.
That has
Yeah.
worked. There's a trade-off for it though. But
I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I kind of agree, but I also think like replying within 1 hour is probably not necessary most of the times.
yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Other things on other things on my mind as I'm, winding down the year, spinning up the new one is just in terms of thinking about how I how what I'm building with Headlamp and the things that I want to explore is I've said here before, and I believe it fundamentally, software cannot solve loneliness and feelings of isolation among a remote team. Can't solve it. It can monitor for it and then make recommendations on how you can address it. I was doing yesterday though, so I was doing this interview with Josh Ho. He's co-founder and CEO of this company Referral Rock, and it's part of the remote work series that I'm doing for Bright and Early.
Hmm.
And we're having this conversation. I'm asking them about their onboarding process, and they have a pretty well developed onboarding process that they've iterated and evolved over the years. And you could just
Is
tell in talking. Go ahead.
Is this for customers or for employees?
For employees, sorry, yes. So onboarding new employees to their 100% remote team. And it was clear that they have worked on this and improved it. And then I asked him, like, what's one of the very common things people talk about is loneliness and isolation. He's like, yeah, we haven't had to struggle with that too much. Um, and so it's kind of got me thinking about, all right, I know that software cannot solve loneliness and isolation. Is that because it is a byproduct of like poorly functioning teams, where they do not communicate well, expectations are not clearly set, and so one of the things that's most likely to occur in that sort of a team is this problem of isolation and loneliness. And so is part of what Headlamp ought to do is not necessarily to poll for, hey, are you feeling lonely? Have you done this? Try this. Um, Instead of polling for that, like head it off at the pass by being this tool that helps to establish clear communication around, X, Y, and Z. Very specific hand holding onboarding processes so that people feel like they're part of a team. They know what's expected. They know how to communicate, et cetera, et cetera. Um, it's really got my wheels turning there.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to keep exploring that a little bit.
So it's like basically still tackling the same problem, but trying to get a little bit to the root cause of the problem. Is
Yeah.
that what you're
Yes.
doing?
Yeah. Which is what I've been like keeping my mind open to all along.
Yeah.
I know that this current thing that I have built is not the thing, but I got to start
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And in having that conversation, there was a bit of a light bulb moment of, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
here's one way that this could be solved. I think one way it can be solved is as a consultant going around doing workshops. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So is another way to do it is to be sure that teams onboard their members really, really well and have well-defined documentation and processes on how we do things. That helps people feel connected, stay connected, know how to communicate with the rest of their team. Oh, okay. So if you had something that enabled that and made it really, really made it easy and automated, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So that's where my
Yeah.
head started to go.
Yeah. It's not in the recording, but I'm nodding my head the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it sounds like, yeah, that sounds like a good direction to go into.
Yeah. So I
And
want
it,
to
it
explore that a
probably
little.
adds a lot of value on top of your the current thing you're solving. Like there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of additional value in there.
Yeah.
We know there's this potential problem, but we help you to just avoid it entirely by getting people onboarded correctly and
Right.
maybe
Right.
encouraging more communication within the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's sounds like a good direction to go into.
Yeah, it also feels a little more tangible. Like I was joking about it earlier, but like talking about and thinking through feelings makes sense to me. Like I love it. It feels a little a lot of people it feels a little like abstract and well, whatever, especially in a business sense. And there's this aspect of it that feels much more tangible and probably easier to position and market,
Yeah,
and folds in the number one issue that remote teams talk about, which is communication. So,
yeah,
um, anyway, that's where my head's at on Headlamp as the year winds down, um, and what I'll be thinking about when I kick the new year off.
cool. Do you have like goals set for the next year?
Well, so I mentioned the year compass,
Yeah,
either last week or the week before, whichever. Um, and so one thing that I'll mention from it specifically, I really do think everybody who listens should at least just pull it up and see, is this something that you could see yourself getting some value out of, and doing it with a small group of close friends. There's this one particular page where it's like it gives you the opportunity to write down, this is what my next year will be about. And there are 10 categories. I'll just read them here. Okay, this is what my next year will be about. Define the most important aspects of the next year in the following areas. Which events will be the most important, and summarize them briefly. So, number 1, personal life and family. 2, work, studies, and profession. 3, your belongings. 4, relaxation, hobbies, etc. 5, friends and community. 6, health and fitness. 7, intellectual. 8, emotional and spiritual. 9, finances. And then 10, bucket list, which I love that at the end. It's just like anything. Um, and the one, so I mean, the one I would probably talk here the most about will be, personal life and family and work, studies, profession. And I was looking back on last year, and it was pretty helpful because there was one point where I was, in work, where I was writing like feature audit, like make it happen or let it go and move on. And that felt like, yeah, way to go. You did that. Like you decided this isn't the thing. So it's time to move on. So for me in this upcoming year, it is definitely like state this goal that by the end of the year, 50% of my income will be coming from software and not from services. Like, and without constraining myself to like make Headlamp happen, but no, like go in this direction of finally shifting yourself out of services and consulting and build something that people want, will pay you for, that the trade-offs you're experiencing them. The trade-offs will be there, but it is definitely in the direction of wealth creation and like the type of work on a day-to-day basis that I'd rather be doing anyway, would rather be doing for sure.
Yeah, sounds good. Do you think, like, did I get that right? You want to do like 50% of your income from software? Like half of it?
Half, yeah.
That's an ambitious goal.
Very ambitious, extremely ambitious goal. But 12 months to do it. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess the other side of that is when I quit my previous startup and went to full zero, within 12 months I'd replace my salary with services, which would also be, yeah, some people would say that that's an ambitious goal, and it was. But you're
judging
like,
from past experience.
Yeah, ramping up services a lot easier than ramping up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think that's how I feel about it right now.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
But I mean, it's a goal or a milestone to try to achieve. So you don't have to make it. You can just aspire to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like to come back to like the important thing that I need to the day-to-day piece of it that I need to be measuring myself on is not the outcome, like the metrics, but am I doing the things right now that will lead to that over time? Okay, yes or no, then start a streak now. That is yes, and build on that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I might end up just like sharing a couple pages of this, when I of the compass, when I fill it out, just to, I think the more people I can convince to do this, the better I feel. I'm not sure. There's just so many people who've been like, dude, I'm still doing this thing that you told me about 3 years ago. I know that it's super valuable. Self-reflection is always good.
Yeah, I looked at it. I haven't filled it out, but I feel like I should really just print it and sit down for a couple hours, and or maybe even just an hour. Like one quick pass, like what comes to mind in that moment, and then see what I've got.
Totally.
Should really, really do
That's
it.
definitely an easy way to start. I usually set aside 2 different sessions, 2 hours for the year behind, for the year the year past, and 1 year for the year ahead. The year behind usually takes me a whole lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
like that makes it sound very intimidating. So just do a
So
quick run and then maybe do more next year, or
totally.
maybe do another iteration on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like looking at it, like it asks the right questions, and I think that's helpful, because like you just sit down and then try to reflect about what happened in the past year. Like there's usually not much guidance of what you consider important, and this helps to basically take different perspectives on the past year and maybe your goals for the next year, and just
completely. Yeah, if it's super open-ended, it's just really hard to reflect on an entire year. But if you sit down and look at a page and it asks you about the past year, what are you most proud of? And you write about that. What were you not able to accomplish? And you write about that. What are you most grateful for from the past year? Like, those are great questions So, all right, let's make it less intimidating and say, take 40 minutes for the year for the past year and 20 minutes for the year ahead. And we'll talk on January 8th about about everything you wrote.
Okay.
All right. Well, is that pretty much is that good for this final episode of the decade?
Let's wrap it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can seriously say, Benedict, I mean, one of the things I'll be most grateful for is that we just decided to start recording a podcast together, not knowing one another from anyone.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
20-something episodes later, I consider you a friend. It's been fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person next year.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be so cool.
Yeah, like definitely starting the podcast is one of my highlights of this year.
Yeah.
Because like it's just, and I'm super proud of both of us for sticking to a schedule and releasing a episode every week. I think so far we haven't skipped one, right?
That's right. Well, I had a guest. I've done one guest and you've done one guest, but we've had an episode every week.
Yeah. We're going to break the...
Oh, we're going to break the streak.
But I mean, I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I think we shouldn't.
Maybe we want to have you just record like 10 minutes on Christmas Day, and I'll record 10 minutes on New Year's Day, just to keep the streak alive.
Just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's see.
Yeah. All good. All good.
I just interview everyone in my family.
Yeah. Yes. What are you working on? Ooh, how do you feel about that? What's that making you think?
I have a slight feeling that nobody in my family actually knows about this podcast, and I'm not sure I want to change that.
Right. Oh, cool. All right. Show notes at slowandsteadypodcast.com.
Yeah. And follow us on Twitter, slowsteadypod.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah.